Hi, everybody. This is Steven Smotherman from Full-Time FBA, and with me is my wife, Rebecca.
Hi.
And we are excited to talk about selling shoes on Amazon and how you can add the whole shoe category to your arsenal of profit-making opportunities. So we're excited to teach you what we know about selling shoes, answer your questions, and talk about how amazing shoes are. They've been really great for us. We've been selling shoes on Amazon. I think we started learning in 2015, and we really got ramped up in 2016, and then 2017, 2018, and well into 2019 now. We just continue to find success with selling shoes on Amazon, and we think you can too. And we want to help you as much as you can. But why should you trust us? Who are we? Well, this is Rebecca and I. This is us. This is a picture of us and three of the four boys on a vacation to the Grand Canyon. The oldest is grown, and so this was us in 2017, and we loved going to the Grand Canyon and just stepping away from work, knowing that, man, our shoes and other inventory were at Amazon FBA warehouses, and if customers wanted to buy them, Amazon would take care of fulfilling those orders, and we can just step away. And it was really awesome. But a little history about how we got started selling online. I actually first discovered selling online back in 1998, and I'm like, man, that was over 20 years ago. Man, over 20 years ago. Selling on eBay, and that was a pretty good hobby for a while. I discovered selling on Amazon FBA in 2011, and within 6 months, I was already making a full-time income selling on Amazon, supporting me and my boys. And at the time, I was a single dad. I wanted to support my family so that I could just keep my kids at home, not put them in daycare. Selling on Amazon FBA was the answer. And in 2012, I was awarded top holiday seller from Amazon. This is an award they gave out to the people who are at the top 20% of holiday sales during Q4 on Amazon. Just a year after I started, making this list was really awesome. Getting this award. Now they don't do this award anymore, but it was fun getting it while they were offering it, and it just goes to show you just how fast you can ramp up sales on Amazon and the success that you can see with that. And in 2013, my life changed for the best, for the better, forever. When I married Rebecca in 2013, she became an incredible stepmom, a wonderful wife, and then we started being able to actually work together. It was really good. Rebecca encouraged me to start a blog, fulltimefba.com, because she noticed I was spending too much time on Facebook answering people's questions. And you're like, you just need a platform where you can help people as much as you can. So Full-Time FBA was born, and we started to work in our Amazon business together. I would do retail arbitrage. She started doing online arbitrage. I would be doing wholesale, and then we started blogging together, and this has been really, really good. And I invite you to come join us on that journey. Fulltimefba.com is where you can find out what our journey's been like and how we've been able to turn part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon. So that's a little bit about us. And before I tell you about selling shoes, I want to give you a free gift. If you don't have this yet, you go to fulltimefba.com /seller central tips. It's a free ebook that you can download. Just gives you a nice little free tips and training on how to correct a lot of glitches on Amazon. Make sure you get the reimbursements that you need to get that are deserved. And there's some other things on Amazon that might not go as expected. This will help you through a lot of those problems. So my free gift to you, the book that Rebecca and I wrote together, and we want you to be able to have it. So should you spend the next hour or so with us on this webinar? Well, you're in the right place if you're an Amazon seller who can't seem to make more money on Amazon no matter how hard you try. You might be in the right place if you wish you could increase your Amazon sales to be much larger than they are right now. If you've heard about the profitability of selling shoes on Amazon, but you're not sure if it's right for you, hey, this is the best place for you to be right now, because we're going to give you a taste of what it's like. And if you know that the more items you sell on Amazon, the more money you can make, so you want to expand into learning the shoes and so you can increase your overall profits, then you're in the right place. And I'm excited about this because, we've had some pretty good experiences selling shoes on Amazon. And we've got a lot of experience. And when would you say again we started selling on Amazon?
Selling shoes?
Selling shoes on Amazon, yes.
Towards the end of 2015.
Toward the end of 2015 is when we kind of tested it out. And I kind of want to give you our experience. When we've started to get pretty passionate about sourcing and selling shoes online. Now there's some people who like buying shoes and like have I'm not going to ask anybody in the comments how many shoes they have in their closet, but some people, you know, got 1 or 2. Some people got like 15. Some people have like 100. We are passionate about selling shoes, not just, you know, buying shoes, but selling shoes and making good money selling shoes on Amazon. In less than 1 year of when we started, shoes became our largest source of revenue from our Amazon FBA business. Before we were doing like books and toys and some grocery stuff here and there, some home and kitchen stuff, but man,
And more toys.
and more toys, yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty toy heavy. But with toys comes like lower selling prices. And so, you know, we really were able to ramp up a lot of our sales because of shoes. And from 2016 to 2018, 50 to 70% of our non-Q4 revenue comes from shoe sales. And so, that's continuing into 2019. In fact, I think that we looked at our 2019 numbers, it's about like 69 or 68% or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, 60s.
Yeah, so let me give you an example. You know, we just talked about, you know, it says non-Q4 revenue came from shoe sales. Well, let's look at the last 6 Qs that we've been experiencing when it comes to selling shoes on Amazon. Q4 of 2017, shoes were 32% of our overall revenue, and our average selling price in the shoe category was $68. Now, you might be like, 32%, I thought you were saying you were, you know, getting good money selling shoes on Amazon. Well, during Q4, we drop a lot of things and go very toy heavy on Q4, but still continue to keep the same consistency of sales and sourcing when it comes to shoes. So we've actually increased our shoe sales a lot, but our toys just like exponentially increased. And so it all increases during Q4, but our average selling price, $68 selling shoes during Q4 of 2017. Q1 of 2018, 56% of our overall revenue came from selling new shoes on Amazon. Our average selling price was $60. Q2, 48% of our overall revenue came from just the shoe category with an average selling price of $66 per item. And so we make, like we've told you a million times, we turn part-time hours into a full-time income. And shoes is a huge reason why. 48% of our overall revenue in 2018 of Q2. In Q3, 53% of our overall revenue came from shoes with a $68 ASP, average selling price. In Q4 of 2018, went down to 27% of our overall revenue. We continued to have a high ASP, $67, and once again, it's because we got so crazy toy heavy, addicted to toys, selling so many toys on Amazon, but that doesn't mean our shoe sales suffered. In fact, they continued to increase.
Yeah, the dollar amount always goes up during Q4, even if the percentage is going down because of the relationship to other categories.
Absolutely. And so far in 2019, 64% of our overall revenue have come from selling shoes on Amazon with a $68 average selling price. And so as you can see, the potential for making good money on Amazon and having shoes be a big reason you can turn part-time hours into a full-time income. You see it right here in the numbers. This has been our experience, and we want to show you our secrets and what we know of how to do that. And so right now, I'm actually going to turn off our cameras. I'm gonna turn things over to Rebecca, and she's gonna walk you through the 3 biggest myths that stop people from selling shoes on Amazon and how you can overcome those myths, and it's gonna be awesome.
So if there's one thing that I want you to take away from today, it is that shoes are profitable and can boost your Amazon FBA business. And I want to talk through some of the reasons why that is. I'm sure you're here today because you're wanting to know just how you can impact your business with shoes and whether that's going to work out and be a good idea for you or not. And so I want to talk through just why I feel like shoes are profitable and can boost your business. And shoes, like Stephen was saying, shoes have provided us with a steady income stream throughout the year, and they're not just seasonal like toys. And we've also been talking about how shoes can raise your ASP, your average selling price. And the reason for that is that a lot of times if you're selling books or toys, the selling price of your one item is going to be pretty low in the 10s, 20s, even 30s. That's considered about average a lot of times for those categories. But with shoes, you're going to be looking at items that are going to be selling for a lot higher, and your average selling price is going to go up to over 50, 60, 70. If you're selling, on a regular basis, you can be selling $100 pairs of shoes, and that will really bring up your average selling price overall, and especially in that category. And because of that higher ASP, shoes require a lot less effort for the profits that can be made. And that's because if you're selling one $100 pair of shoes, it's going to take a lot less effort to find that pair of shoes, to prep it, to send it in, and to sell it on Amazon than it would be to sell 10 $10 toys for that same $100 of sales. And so that's another really great benefit of selling shoes. Shoes sell well year round, like we were talking earlier. We do sell a high dollar amount of shoes throughout Q4, but then really all throughout the year, there's never a downtime with shoes, we found. Unlike with toys, when you have that peak period during the Q4 Christmas season, shoes sell consistently. They have really sold consistently for us year round, and they've really helped to provide a steady stream of sales for us, so that we don't see that slump in our sales that we used to see when we were so toy heavy, and we would go through kind of a downturn after Q4, or you'd have the summer slump. We just don't see that with shoes like we were before. So the thing, though, that I want to also emphasize as I'm going over all these benefits of selling shoes is, before we get into our myths, I want to emphasize that you really do have to have the right mindset. And you're not going to be able to expect the same results in the shoe category that you might have seen in books or toys. And you're not going to, it really is just a completely different category than some of the other categories that you might be used to selling in. And so there's a learning curve, and you need to be prepared to have to spend that time, invest the time and the effort into learning that category, and understand that you're not going to see a bunch of fast turns right off the bat. That unlike with toys or books, you're not going to be able to just look at the sales rank alone, sales rank history alone, to make a good decision about whether or not you're going to buy some inventory to sell on Amazon. And you're not going to be able to see that as easily. You're going to have to learn some more of the nuances of the category. And I know for me that was a frustration at first, not being able to see those shoes that I was sending into Amazon sell just right away, because I expected shoes, when I got into the category, I expected shoes to sell the same way as toys or books. And it just wasn't the case. And so I want to prepare you for it, that there is a learning curve. And there is also a higher buy cost that goes along with shoes. And that's something else that you really need to be mindful of. That unlike, when you are buying a book at a garage sale and you can get it for 50 cents, or if you're buying toys on clearance at a store and you can buy them for $5, shoes are going to require a higher upfront buy cost. You might need to pay $20 to even $50 for a pair of shoes in order to send that in to Amazon, but they're going to provide higher profits, and so that higher buy cost still can produce a higher ROI, return on your investment. But you're just going to need to make that mindset shift that it's going to require more capital, more money to be able to get into selling shoes on Amazon. And then, like I said, there is a learning curve, but the time investment that you put into it really is totally worth it. And then I just really think, for me, I know that once I learned the shoe category, it became my favorite category to sell in. And I think the same could be true for you if you give it a chance. And it's hard to know until you try it. And so that's kind of an introduction to the mindset that we're going to be talking about here, that there's going to be some things that you're going to need to shift in your thinking when it comes to selling shoes. And so on that note, I want to get into the 3 myths that we're going to cover tonight about selling shoes on Amazon. So we're going to cover these 3 myths, and then we're going to combat the myths with truth. And the first one that we're going to talk about is the myth that shoes are a gated category, and even if you get approved to sell shoes, all the best shoe brands are restricted. So if you've been thinking about selling shoes, you might have been kind of doing some research about the category or seeing what other people are saying about it in Facebook groups or in posts that you've seen online. And a lot of times you might see some people expressing frustration about shoes and a lot of back and forth with Seller Central about what do you need to do and how to get ungated. But the truth is that currently shoes is the shoes category is ungated for all sellers with a pro selling plan. Shoes once upon a time was a gated category, and it no longer is. And so that's good news. And the truth is that there are still numerous profitable shoe brands that are ungated for all sellers too. Another thing that you're going to see a lot of times is people talking about how, you know, certain really big brands are gated and all the good brands are gated for shoes. And the truth is that there's a lot of brands that aren't, that are they're still just as profitable, that aren't gated. And even with the brands that are gated, it's possible to get approved to sell some of the popular restricted shoe brands. It's not the case that you're never going to be able to sell the quote good shoes or the best shoes, the best shoe brands on Amazon. And I want to walk you through now how to get approved to sell popular shoe brands on Amazon.
And spoiler alert, these tips will help you get approved to other brands that are not even shoe brands. So if you use what we're talking about, you can get approved to sell plenty of brands, and it really will open up your inventory to be able to sell lots of stuff.
That's right. And so you're going to want to take notes on this. I'll prompt you at the end. Be sure and take a screenshot once we've got all of this up. But log into Seller Central and then hover over inventory, you know, up in the top left of your main Seller Central dashboard. There's the inventory tab or column up there. Hover over that, and then it'll bring up a menu where you can click to add a product. And under that, once you click on add a product, it's going to bring up a new page where you will be able to see under list a new product. You're going to type in the name of the brand name of a shoe brand that you want to sell, or if you have an ASIN or a name of a shoe that you're already interested in, you're going to enter that into that field. And then if you've just typed in a brand name, you'll want to pick a shoe that comes up as an option. And if once you've picked the shoe option that you're going to apply for, there'll be an option to click show variations. And once you've done that, it will probably, if you're gated in that, it's going to bring up a thing that says listing limitations apply. That means that there's some type of gating for you there, whether it's, you know, whatever condition it might be in. And then click on apply now. If it says that you have listing limitations for the new shoe condition of that shoe, that means that you're gated for that brand, and you'll click on apply now. Now, if it says that your listing limitation is for used or collectible or whatever, that's normal. Everybody's gated for that. But if it says that you're able to sell it in new condition, you're ungated. If it says that you're not, if you have listing limitations for new condition, that means you're gated. Click on apply now. And once you do that, you will either be able to get auto approved, which means that it'll, you know, say, congratulations, you're now approved, or it will tell you what kind of documentation or what other information you will need to submit to get approval. And it really doesn't have to be that hard to get into selling shoes from a restrictions viewpoint, considering just how easy this process can be. And there's different time periods when gating of brands kind of opens up and there's more auto approvals than there used to be. And the other really good thing is the longer you're selling, if you're a newer seller, you might have more restrictions than if you've been selling for a longer amount of time. But the longer you sell, the more you're able to build up your seller metrics. And within a few months, you should be able to sell even more brands than you might be able to sell right now. And so we always recommend keeping track of which brands you're applying to be approved in. put a reminder on your calendar for 3 to 6 months from the time that you apply if you don't get auto approval, and then go back and check on it and try again, because you might have been able to build up enough seller metrics, build up enough of a record with Amazon to be able to get auto approval if you apply again in the future. And so we just want to combat that myth that there's no profitable shoe brands left that are ungated to everybody, and that it's too hard, there's too many restrictions. That's just not the case that we found. And so be sure and screenshot this screen right here. Keep these instructions. And like Stephen said, this works with shoes. It works with any category, and brands and ASINs and whatnot in any category. So that was myth number 1. And then moving on to myth number 2, it's hard to find profitable shoes to sell on Amazon. So even if you find shoes that you're ungated to sell, they're not going to be profitable. And that's just not the case either. This is where, again, you need to have a mindset shift that, especially depending on your sourcing background, depending on whether you're coming into selling shoes from a background of thrifting or garage selling, I want to make sure that you understand that you're going to need to shift how you look for shoes. You can't sell used shoes. That's one of the qualifications for selling shoes on Amazon, is that they have to be in new condition. And so if you're used to sourcing in places where a lot of the items that you're seeing are going to possibly be in used condition, you need to understand that you're going to need to find new sources. Garage sales and thrift stores are not the place to find brand new shoes in their original box that are in perfect, absolutely brand new, never been worn, never been tried on condition. And so you need to kind of shift as far as you go with that. And then also, even if you are used to sourcing through retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, you're also going to possibly need to shift your thinking on what types of stores that you source at. So if you usually source for inventory at drugstores or Walmart and other stores that don't necessarily carry brand name shoes, you might have to start finding new stores to source at. And you might also have to think through whether, even if you're used to sourcing retail arbitrage, you might need to try online arbitrage, or vice versa. I know for me, I had been doing a lot of retail arbitrage before I got into shoes, and I thought, I heard other people talking about how they made a killing off of shoes at certain stores, and I tried it and I couldn't find any shoes. Literally not one pair of shoes did I ever find when I was doing retail arbitrage. But when I switched to looking for shoes online, I was able to strike gold, and it was just night and day difference. And so I realized that retail arbitrage was not going to work for me with shoes, but online arbitrage was.
And it's funny because one of the people who actually wrote a testimonial for our course, The Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes, she does 100% retail arbitrage, and she does 6 figures with retail arbitrage when it comes to shoes. And she's like, I tried online arbitrage with shoes and it didn't work for me. And so we're not saying retail arbitrage doesn't work. We're just saying you find what clicks with you, whether it's retail arbitrage or online arbitrage.
Right. And so basically what I'm trying to say is that you need to be open to finding shoes in a location where you might not be sourcing right now. And so with our myth that it's hard to find profitable shoes, I just want to make sure that you understand that the bottom line is there are ways to make sourcing shoes easier, and there are tons of profitable shoes to sell on Amazon. Whatever method you end up going with, there are ways to find shoes, and there's tools that you can use to make it a lot easier. So for instance, if you do get into doing retail arbitrage, you besides just getting out there in the stores and scanning, and honestly, sometimes that's the best way to find the best deals, is to just get out there and scan shoes in the stores, scan everything, scan the brands that you understand the best, scan the styles that you understand the best. But there's also ways to make it easier. There are BOLO groups that you can join, that you can buy into. There's some types of groups that give leads based on certain retail stores. People sometimes will sell BOLO lists where they'll let you know certain types of deals to be on the lookout for in certain stores. And so that's one way to make retail arb go a little bit faster. For us, we do online arbitrage for shoes, and there's a few different tools that I use on a daily basis that help speed up that process. There are times that I will go through and just manually click on shoes in a certain category on a certain retail website and just check those out on Amazon, but for the most part, that's not what I do. I have a daily BOLO list that I use every day, and I also have in the past.
And just for anyone who's curious, BOLO stands for Be on the Lookout, and it's just short for a list of things to be on the lookout for. And there's some people out there who put these lists together to give you an idea of what to be looking for to go out and source.
Right, and those BOLO lists, they're a great place to get leads. And it's also a great place to just get ideas of where to start. Even if you're not going to buy those exact shoes, then you can get ideas of rabbit trails to go down. We've also used the OA X-ray scanning Chrome extension that scans retail stores' websites. I've used that in the past. Currently, I am more often using Tactical Arbitrage to scan sites and find shoes. And both OA X-ray and Tactical Arbitrage, they're similar. They do, basically the same type of idea where they scan a site and kind of produce a spreadsheet-like chart of clickable links that will take you to all sorts of information about those shoes on both the retail site and on Amazon and how to make a good buying decision. They both have positives and negatives, but with where I am right now and how I'm sourcing and what's working best for me on a daily basis, I'm pretty much only using Tactical Arbitrage on a daily basis and kind of use OA X-ray as my backup. And so if you are interested in, that should be fulltimefba.com/TA. Oops. Who's your proofreader?
I don't know.
That would be me. Sorry. If you're interested in Tactical Arbitrage, you can check that out at that link, and you can get an extended 10-day trial with the coupon code FULLTIME10 if you're interested in finding out if that is a good fit for you. There is a learning curve with Tactical Arbitrage, but if you feel like you're up for it, that would be a great way to get started speeding up your process with online arbitrage. And so moving on to myth number 3, shoe returns are too high and it's not worth it to sell shoes on Amazon. I would say, would you not say, Stephen, this is the number one thing that gets brought up whenever people start talking about selling shoes on Amazon is, the returns are too high. I don't want to mess with it. It's just not worth it.
I get emails on it ever since we started putting our shoe-related blog posts and videos online. I get emails, I get Facebook messages. Sometimes that's all it says. Shoe returns are too high, or shoes aren't worth it because of the returns, and that's it. But you know what? The more people who believe this actually means the more shoes that we have to sell, and but we want to help you. We want you to know the truth, because shoe returns that they're too high, that's a huge myth.
Right. We want to make sure that you understand the truth, and definitely it is a concern that shoes do get returned it seems like on a higher basis. And the truth is, though, that the number of returns may be higher in shoes than in other categories. So you may get, numerically, you may be getting a lot of shoes returned, but the number of sellable returns is also higher. We have found that the vast majority of the returns that we get of our shoes are in sellable condition. In fact, I never even know when a pair of shoes is returned to us, because I don't deal with our returns, and they're just sent back into our inventory. We have it set up right now so that the shoes are returned to Amazon. The Amazon warehouse worker checks them, and unless they find a problem, we're having them just put right back into our inventory. And so unless there is a problem, I don't ever see it. And then when there is a problem, I deal with it. But The thing is, you can still sell shoes as new on Amazon if they're returned and they haven't been customer damaged in any way, like the shoebox has not been torn up or the tags haven't been torn off. If people are just trying on shoes and sending them back, they're still in new condition, and you can sell them on Amazon even after they're returned. And if not, you can sell them on another platform as used. We've sold shoes on eBay in the past. Right now I'm selling a lot of my returns or problem shoes on Poshmark. And so it's not like those shoes are just, piling up in our garage and we don't know what to do with them. We're still selling them. But even if you're just looking at what we're selling as new on Amazon, you really have to look at the overall sell-through rate, not just the number of shoes you have returned. So how many of your shoes are actually being sold again and not being returned, even if they're returned once? And honestly, for us, we've crunched the numbers and we've looked at kind of we've taken stock of what's been going on with our returns from all categories. And honestly, when we get a pair of shoes returned to us, they are, even if they've been marked as customer damaged, which means they're possibly either the tags have been torn off of them or they might have been worn once or tried on and had some type of damage to them, they're in so much better condition than when we get toys returned to us or kitchen items. We get toys that are returned that are broken or that have been worn out. We get kitchen items returned to us that have been used in some way. And they're just usually, when we get returns from other categories, it's not sellable. At that point, we don't have anything we can do with it. They're useless to us. And what were you saying were the numbers? Steven crunched some numbers earlier today.
Yeah, earlier today I went through and just tallied our numbers from the last 3 months. And when it comes to our shoes, 96% of our shoe returns went right back into sellable condition, and eventually, they sold. And so 96% of our shoe returns went back on sale on Amazon. And I decided I'm going to look at all my other items that I've sold in the last 3 months on Amazon, all the other categories. And only 20% of the other categories were able to be put back on sale, in new condition, because it was either broken or used or whatever. But 96% of our shoes back on sale on Amazon, and they're going to eventually sell. 20% of our, toys, our home and kitchen item, all books, all other types of categories, return to us, not able to send it back into Amazon. And that's just, so if we're only dealing with 4% of our returns, that we actually have to find another alternative to sell them, to make money, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, that it's really not that big of a problem overall. The key though is you will get shoes returned. And when they're returned into sellable condition, one of the things that you need to keep in mind though is that you do have a charge to your account, a fee for a return, and that fee is going to end up being like $4 or $5, which is pretty, that's a big fee. That's kind of high. So the key is, when you're selling shoes, that you need to make sure that you're just working that number into your ROI when you're making your buying decision. So you're not going to be able to buy shoes and make a profit if you're buying shoes that, when you make your buying decision, the dollar amount of your expected profit is $5 or $6. You need to have a much bigger dollar amount for your profit in order to work that possible return in. If you are selling shoes, you need to be looking for shoes where you're going to make 20 or 30 bucks of profit, so that if you do get a return, that it's not going to eat up all your profits and not make any money for you. And that, again, it's just a mindset shift. You just have to decide if you're willing to make that shift. If you're willing to say, yeah, the profit potential is high enough for me, I'm willing to do the work to find the shoes that have that kind of a profit margin, and I'm willing to make that investment of time to learn a different and slightly more difficult category. So we've covered these 3 myths, and these are all problems that on the surface might hold you back from wanting to sell shoes. But if you dig deeper and you look at the truth, we have found that shoes are a fantastic addition to our FBA inventory. They have raised our average selling price, and that has been a big deal for us as far as, we always say we like to, we make a full-time income spending only part-time hours on our FBA business. And one way that we're able to do that is because we have raised our ASP, our average selling price, so that we're finding fewer number of inventory items to make a higher dollar amount of sales and profits. And because we've done that, we've been able to raise our overall disbursements, and we have been able to see shoes make an impact on our sales throughout the year, so that we're not just dependent on really high Q4 sales to kind of help us float throughout the rest of the year. We're making steady sales of shoes throughout the year, and that's been a really great benefit as well.
Yeah, and I want to say one more thing. I actually have an image I want to show everybody. One more thing about these shoe returns are too high. It's not worth it. And like Rebecca said, yes, the number of shoe returns is higher than other categories, and that makes sense. People are trying stuff on. If they don't like how it feels, they return it. It doesn't fit right, they return it. But the number of shoes that actually go back into sellable condition are extremely high, almost 100%, 96% go right back into sellable condition. And here's a copy, and if you're not watching this on full screen, you might want to so you can see it, but this is a copy of the Image FBA returns report. And you can see this is a recent return, a recent report that I was able to run, but you can go through and see that these are all shoes. I blurred them out to protect our, our account, and so you don't all go run out and buy these shoes, unless you want to buy them as a customer. Just kidding. But anyway, you see that it was returned as sellable. This one was returned as customer damaged, which means maybe the tags are off, maybe the box was opened up and split a little bit. But you know what? It's funny, customer damaged returns, about half the time, it's still a new condition and we can just send it back into Amazon. There was nothing wrong that we saw with it. But all these other ones, this was returned, hey, it was too short, but it was still unsellable. Hey, this one's too large or long. Hey, it's still sellable. Too short, sellable. I ordered the wrong style. Okay, I went back into sellable. I did not like the style. Sellable. If any of these reasons were because of another category, it would come back being customer damaged and we wouldn't be able to sell it. But all these, and like I told you before, 96% of our shoes that were returned go right back into sellable condition. And I've heard a few people worry about, well, are you trusting your Amazon account to an Amazon worker to decide if it's sellable or not? And I totally get that. But here's the deal. We've been doing this, we've been selling shoes on Amazon since 2016. And I think it's been like since 2017 that we stopped returning all of our shoes that were returned so we can inspect them ourselves. And we haven't had one single issue that we worried about an Amazon worker saying something that was still sellable when they shouldn't have said it was sellable. And here's the thing. There's a report on Amazon. If you go to reports and fulfilled and search inventory event detail, you can actually search for your particular FN SKU. And if it was returned and a warehouse worker deemed it as sellable and it sold to another customer who had a problem with your shoes, you can actually, within Amazon seller support, say, hey, the Amazon worker said this was still in sellable condition, so you should probably reimburse me for this issue, or whatever type of problem you might have because of that. There's an out, but we haven't even had to get to that point. Did that make sense with that?
I mean, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, but yeah, the returns are not that big of a deal. And so when you're considering adding shoes to your Amazon business, just remember, the more things that you can sell on Amazon, the more money you'll make. So diversify your inventory. If you're just stuck with books and toys or whatever, adding a new category can really help you increase your sales. And you might be going through this webinar and thinking to yourself, this is a lot of information to know. This is a whole new thing to learn. And that's why we put together a course, the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. And so if you're thinking, man, that's too much work to learn a whole new thing, well, just think back to when you were a beginner and you focused on books or you focused on toys, and you had to take time. You made a lot of mistakes up front, you learned a lot, and you started seeing success. Well, we want to pass on our mistakes and the lessons that we've learned from those to you so that you can fast forward your success rate and while diversifying your income. And another really good thing about Amazon when it comes to the shoe category is that there are fewer competitors. Like if you sell a book on Amazon, you might have over 100 competitors. If you sell a toy, on Amazon. You might have 200 competitors. Rebecca, how many competitors would you say is too many when it comes to selling shoes?
I try to find, I mean, honestly, I try to find shoe variations where I'm the only seller, but I probably won't source a pair of shoes if there's more than like 5 or 6.
Right.
And I know others who go higher than that, but for me, 5 or 6 is too many.
Right. And we find those opportunities all day. You might be thinking, man, it probably takes forever to find a shoe that's being sold on Amazon that only has 1 or 2 or 6 or maybe none, no competition, but we find it every day. Another reason to add shoes to your Amazon business, we've talked about it before, higher a average selling price. And this allows you more flexibility when it comes to repricing. If you need to lower your price a little bit, this gives you more flexibility on if there is a return, and it helps increase your overall profits because of the great ROI possibilities. There's a lot of times, we're selling stuff at higher prices. Obviously, we're buying it at a little bit higher prices as well, but the ROI opportunities are really good. So I really hope you consider adding shoes to your Amazon business. And in just a second, we've got Q&A coming up and a giveaway. So if you have questions, put those in the questions area. I've seen people already put some questions in there. I'm looking forward to getting into those. And we're going to do a giveaway in just a moment. But first, I want to remind you of a free gift for you, our book, Seller Central Tips, fulltimefba.com/Seller Central Tips, so that you can download this free ebook. Is our gift to you just for being here. So hopefully that will be really helpful for you. And I want to let you know a little bit more about the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. It's a combination ebook and video course. The ebook is over 100 pages. The video course is over 4.5 hours of video content. And this course has just been updated. So it is updated 100% to today's Amazon selling landscape. We first booked this course together back in 2017, I believe, and so we've updated this year, and just this week updated the course and included better content, more bonuses. We'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, 17 bonus modules that will help you shave a lot of time off of your shoe sourcing, help you maximize your time, maximize your profits, and as always, we have a 60-day money-back guarantee. That if you try this course out and decide you don't like it, 60 days have not passed, email me and I will give you a no questions asked money back guarantee. So you got nothing to lose. The only thing that I want you to know for right now, this link, fulltimefba.com/selling shoes. And 2 big things to know right now. If you use the coupon code SHOES10, that will knock $10 off the cost of this course. This coupon code is only for a limited time, so make sure you take advantage of it. Coupon code SHOES10, and we're about to increase the cost of the course because we've just updated the course. That took a lot of time. We got a ton more content, a lot more bonus PDFs and videos for you. So we're increasing the cost, but before we increase the cost, we want to give you this opportunity. fulltimefba.com/selling shoes, and use the coupon code SHOES10 to be able to save $10 off of this course. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the bonuses that are really awesome. There's a checklist of questions to ask yourself before starting to buy shoes. We want to make sure you are thinking through all the right things that you need to think about before you start buying shoes. We also got shoe buying parameters worksheet. We'll help you work through the things you need to think about before you buy your shoes. What sizes, what variations, what colors, what just a lot of things that we go through in our thought process. We're going to help you through this as well. There's a breakdown of the tools that we use for sourcing shoes, and we'll tell you which tools we recommend and why. And another one of how to normalize a shoe listing. Rebecca, tell everyone a little bit about what this means and why this is important.
So this is when you have, sometimes you'll end up with a shoe listing that gets problems on it where you've got issues with the variations not being set up correctly, where you've got the colors are misspelled, and so you've got some of the sizes under gray with G-R-E-Y and some of the sizes for the shoe under G-R-A-Y, and just ways that you need to help fix the listing to get the customer experience to be better. And it's a little bit different process than it would be for fixing a listing in another category. And so normalizing a shoe listing is the name for that.
And it takes a confusing thing and makes it simplified with this bonus PDF. A big part of shoe selling is inspection and prepping when it comes to getting it ready for Amazon. We'll make sure you have a checklist of all the things you need to be sure to inspect when it comes to your prep. And then we're also give you a breakdown of increasing your Amazon FBA shoe sales with multi-channel fulfillment on eBay. There's a service that connects your Amazon account with your eBay account, and you can make your shoes not just available on Amazon, but also eBay. And we will walk you through how to maximize that opportunity so you can get more eyeballs on your shoes and more customers coming your way. A couple more PDF bonuses that we've added. Sell your shoe Amazon returns and other problem shoes using Poshmark. Poshmark is a recent addition to the online selling community, and it's in the place that people sell new and gently used shoes and clothing. And so this is a great place to return the type of shoes that are returned to you and are no longer in new condition. So maybe there's a scuff on the heel, or maybe there's an issue with the shoe box, and in some other way. So you can sell these shoes on Poshmark. And the cool thing about Poshmark, they have a all sales final policy, so you can sell your items on your shoes on Poshmark. You might not get as much profit as Amazon, but you'll be able to get some of your capital back that you can put back into more shoes to sell on Amazon. And another bonus PDF, a checklist for taking attractive Poshmark photos, because those photos are key into getting the next sale on Poshmark. So those are just our PDFs. Those are our PDF bonuses. We got some video bonuses. Finding the ASIN for a shoe variation. Sometimes you need a variation ASIN because the way shoes are set up, there's a parent ASIN that is over all of the variations that are underneath it. And so the child ASINs include the different sizes and colors and style combinations that are all under this one parent ASIN. And sometimes it's hard to find that ASIN. So this is helping you find the ASIN for a shoe variation. And there's a faster way to find the ASINs for out-of-stock shoe variations. Sometimes Amazon, well, all the time Amazon, if there's an item that's out of stock on Amazon, they suppress it. And so you might be looking for a size 7 shoe that's in black, and you're like, wait, that little 7 is grayed out and I can't click on it. How can I find out what the ASIN is without clicking on that? Well, there's a way with Inventory Lab to be able to find out what that is. We walk you through that. We walk you through how using the tool How Many variations to compare prices and make better buying decisions. We have a PDF video about how to add a product variations via upload in Seller Central. Another one where it talks about adding a variation to a listing when using Variation Wizard in Seller Central, and using Tactical Arbitrage variations tool to make better buying decisions, because these first two bonus PDFs, it can be really kind of confusing in Seller Central to do some of the things that we need to do as shoe sellers. We simplify it by giving you a walkthrough video of how to do it. And then if you use Tactical Arbitrage, there's the variations tool that will help you know which variations are probably selling more than other variations. And that's a big key to differentiate yourself from other shoe buyers that might just be guessing which is the best seller, because the ones that sell the most are the ones you want to be selling too. Again, in Seller Central, we have a video walking you through how to add a variation shoe listing using Add a Product in Seller Central. If you use Keepa, they have a variations tab that will also help you make better buying decisions, and how to optimize your eBay listings when importing from Amazon with Joe Lister. Joe Lister is the multi-channel fulfillment tool that we use to also sell our Amazon shoes on eBay, and we want to help you optimize those. So you might be overloaded with information, and you might be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I even needed all this stuff. Well, they're here for you when you are ready for them. And how do you get this? You go to fulltimefba.com/selling shoes and get the course, Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes on Amazon. We could probably sell all these bonuses for like $100 max, but you know what? We include them for free for you. And I'd also want to let you know, if we really practice what we preach when it comes to selling shoes on Amazon, this screenshot was taken a few days ago, and yes, we still practice what we preach and continually sell shoes all day long. So you can take a look at this and our shoe sales that we've been able to experience. I took this screenshot yesterday morning about our sales from the day before, and so you can see the sales that we've had, the prices that we're selling things for, and the consistency of our sales, and we want to help you too. So this is how we can best help you right now. The Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. Again, use the coupon code SHOES10. The price is going to be going up very soon, so be sure to lock in the lowest price today by using that coupon code SHOES10 and fulltimefba.com/selling shoes. Is there anything that I talked about that I might have missed, or something that you want to reiterate about this course and what they should expect from when they get this course?
Well, I would say that the course, it's a lot of information at first about a category that you might not be used to, and so it just take it in small chunks, especially when it comes to learning. We didn't go into a lot of detail. We just kind of touched on the fact about parent-child relationships. It can be overwhelming at times to try to figure out, if you're a newer seller, once you've jumped in and you're like, okay, now I finally have a grasp on sales rank, and it's almost like you get the rug pulled out from underneath you when it comes to making buying decisions when it comes to shoes, because, oh, sales rank works differently in the shoes category. It's really clothing, shoes, and jewelry. And so when you're looking at the sales rank, it's not just shoes. And you're also looking at variations where you don't really know what the sales rank of the black size 10 is. You're looking at all of the shoes, all of the black, the brown, the green, the white, and all of the half sizes, and the narrow and the width, the wide. And so just take it in small chunks and work through it. And we go through step by step thoroughly how to understand the different factors in making buying decisions. And we'll go into more depth in that in the course, but that's one thing that we just didn't really touch on a whole lot, that you can really get a lot more information from it.
All right, I'm putting our faces back on the screen. So hello, everybody. And okay, so we're gonna get into some questions. One of the questions that comes up a lot, and I just want to jump into this first. A lot of people say, what are the best brands to sell on Amazon? And is it possible to get ungated in Nike? So what are your thoughts about that?
This came up in the Facebook group in the last day or two about Nike in particular, but I have some strong opinions about Nike. But when it comes to which brands are the best to sell, I would say whichever brand you can find that you can source profitable shoes. If you can find a brand that has a good sales rank and you're able to get it at a buy cost where you would make profits on it, then go for it, try it. I sell brands of shoes that I've never heard of until I started sourcing for Amazon. And I also sell brands of shoes that I've heard of my whole life. And so it really just, you have to kind of get to know the category, just like with any other category. Before you start selling it, you're not gonna know as much generally, unless you're just really into shoes. But you do hear there's certain brands that people are like, oh, you need to be selling Nike or Adidas or whatever. And I know that there's people that their bread and butter is Nike, and they sell tons of Nike all the time. And we did for a while. We've never been gated in Nike, and I don't know why. We've been selling for several years, and then whenever it became gated, the brand became gated a while back, we just got grandfathered in, and so it's never been an issue for us. But honestly, even though we're ungated in it, I don't really like selling Nike because everybody wants to, and so the number of competitors tends to be higher because everybody flocks to that brand. And I was saying on Facebook that I have found that their listings are kind of messed up sometimes. I don't know why, but they'll have a lot of misspellings in the colors, or the pictures are wrong, and that to me has been the case with both clothes and shoes for Nike, that the listings just aren't that high quality sometimes. And to me, I don't like selling items on listings that are messed up, because it ends up that stuff doesn't sell as quickly a lot of times. But yeah, so basically back to answer your question about which brands, if you can find a brand that has a low sales rank and you've got a good buy cost for it, and the FBA calculator tells you that you would make a good profit on it, it's worth trying. Now, I don't think I would spend like $500 on inventory for a brand of shoes that I'd never heard of before. I would, buy a few pairs to test it out before I would do that. But yeah, it's kind of trial and error, trying to learn the category and which brands to go with. And I know that's not the answer. Everybody wants a list of the brands to go look for, but that's kind of not the way it works.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, if you know the toy category, and you might think, okay, if I'm approved to sell Hasbro, guess what? There's Hasbro items that are profitable, and then there's a lot of Hasbro items that are not profitable. So there's a lot of Nike stuff that's profitable, a lot of Nike stuff that's not profitable. The thing is to focus on what you're able to sell and look for the winners in what you're able to sell. A lot of times we focus on what we can't do, and we think that's always the answer. But the real answer is to work hard at the things that are available to us and take advantage of that. Regina asks, do you find that athletic shoes sell more than casual dress shoes? What are your thoughts on that?
We do sell a lot of athletic shoes. I would say that for us in particular, we sell more athletic shoes and casual shoes. Dress shoes, we sell rarely. It really just depends. We sell some men's dress shoes, women's dress shoes with higher heels or certain types of higher boots. Not just the heel, but also like the shaft of the boot if it comes up higher on the leg, like up to the knee riding boots. Those, it tends to be harder to fit those, to find the good fit, and so those end up being returned more often. And I mean, there's been some boots, years ago that I had bought to sell, and I think that I had one pair of boots go back and forth getting bought and returned 4 or 5 times before I realized what had happened and was like, what am I doing? And I had to call those back and just put them on Poshmark because it was hard to find a good fit. And so people were buying it and returning it, And so now I know, okay, that type of boot I don't like to sell. And certain types of high heels, that just the way they fit is you have to try it on. You can't just know, oh, I wear a size 9 in that shoe all the time. That it might be just a hard fit. And so I don't like to sell those kinds of shoes. Other people, everybody's business model is different. So other people might have really great success selling. I mean, somebody's selling dress shoes because there's lots of them available on Amazon and people get them from Amazon. But for us, I do like to sell athletic shoes. All brands, not just Nike, not just Adidas, but some smaller brands or more niche type brands. Those really are a good seller. And, some people say that those sell really well around the first of the year. And January really is a good time of year for shoes in general, not just athletic shoes, but, people are starting out the year right with, healthy resolutions, and they're wanting a new pair of running shoes, and they've got Christmas money to spend or whatever. And so athletic shoes do really well that time of year, but they also do well other times. They're also a really good back to school item. So
yeah, and this is something to think about. Like if you're toy heavy and you're like, man, I just had Q4, what am I going to do for January? All the toy prices have tanked, and shoe sales in January are awesome. And so if you want to keep a steady, average of sales and continue to have a really good January, like you had a good December and November, shoes is a great place to sell.
Shoes is also really great. It seems counterintuitive, but like the last 2 weeks of December, every year for the past 3 years, we've had, I don't know, maybe like 75 or 80% of our sales have been shoes. People just keep buying shoes. They stop buying everything else, but they keep buying shoes. The other thing, I don't think I've ever brought this up, but the other thing I've noticed is people buy a lot of shoes on Sunday. I don't know what that's about, but Sundays we always sell a ton of shoes. People are just in a shoe buying mood on Sundays. And so it's weird that the selling patterns are just different from other categories. And so you kind of get to where you learn, your own little patterns like that are just different. And those are things that I have observed. So I really love the fact that before we were selling toys, heavy in toys all throughout the year. And then the last 2 weeks of December were just brutal because people just stopped buying after Christmas. And it was like, oh, are we ever going to sell anything again? But with shoes, we have continued to make pretty decent sales consistently, even those last 2 weeks. And then January picks up and is really good. So anyway, that's just a random side note. But
That's cool. And that's cool about Sundays. I had no idea.
It's just an observation I've made. I have not done any type of statistical analysis on it or anything by any stretch, but it's an observation I've made that I think people buy shoes on Sundays.
That's cool. That's cool. Jamie was asking if we buy our shoes retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, or wholesale. And I'll speak to wholesale. Almost every single shoe brand that I've reached out to, and I've heard other people have the exact same experience. If you don't have a brick and mortar store, you're not going to be able to get very many shoe wholesale accounts. In fact, probably none. And so it's either retail arbitrage or online arbitrage. We focus more on online arbitrage, but people found success with retail arbitrage. With the course, The Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes, will get you equipped for both strategies, retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. Whichever one you click with the most will help you through that. Another question, Carol says, if a returned shoe is worn once, are you listing on Amazon as new? Are you adding notes in the listing box? Are you selling all shoes in boxes? What happens if no box shoes comes with or returned with? I guess what happens if a shoe is returned without a box? And so go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll try to address, there's several questions in there, and I'll try to address as much of that as I can. The number one thing that I want to emphasize is within the Amazon selling guidelines, it states that shoes must be in new condition, and you cannot sell used shoes on Amazon. That's just not a thing. So if a shoe, you can't, again, if you get a pair of shoes returned to you and it is used, it's not like if you get a book back or a, I don't know, any other item, like a kitchen item that you could possibly sell as used, like new or whatever, if the box is warped or if the book has marking or, whatever, if it's used condition, you can't send a pair of shoes back in and say, oh, now it's used, I'm going to put listing notes, because you can't put listing notes for new items. If an item is new, it's new. And so for shoes, it has to be in new condition, and it needs to be in the manufacturer's original box. Now there's some question on that, because in Seller Central and on the Amazon guidelines, there's a couple of different spots where it says different things. And in one spot it says that shoes can be in generic boxes, but in another spot it says that shoes must be in the manufacturer provided box. Personally, we only sell shoes in the original box that's in good, new condition. We don't sell, if a shoe comes back to us that's returned and it's been worn. Now it's different if it's just been tried on and like the shoelaces need to be retied and there's zero wear on the sole of the shoe, or if you look on the inside of the shoe, where like the insole has like the brand name on it and you can tell if like it's been worn, so that's kind of rubbed off a little bit. If it's anything like that, that's not a new shoe. That needs to go on eBay or Poshmark. But if it's obviously not been worn outside, done anything other than just trying it on, oh, that doesn't fit, take it back off, then we can sell, we will send a new pair of shoes back in the original box if the box isn't damaged. Now, if the box comes back to us and the lid's torn or the lid's missing, we've had shoes come back to us, even the shoe was in great condition, in new condition, but it came back to us either in a brown box that Amazon provided or that the person provided, or it comes back in a poly bag, or it comes back in some random brand shoe box that looks like it's been in their garage for a year. Those types of things, you can't send that back in to Amazon. And so, no, you can't put anything in the listing notes about the box. You can't. You're not supposed to send stuff in with missing box lids. That's another thing. If you buy shoes, retail arbitrage from certain stores or outlets and whatnot, you might get shoes. You might see shoes that they're in new condition and they've got a box, but there's no lid.
Yeah, liquidation sales sometimes have that.
And, we don't sell those. Some sellers will say, oh, it's no problem, I do it all the time. Well, I think there's a problem with it, because if I ordered a new pair of shoes and it came to me without the lid, I would wonder, where did this come from? This isn't new. Why is there not a lid? And the reason why I wouldn't do that is because if the customer is not happy, then what are we even doing this for? We're trying to make profits, but we're trying to sell items that are going to make customers happy and give them a good experience. And so we want to protect our account. And if the customer at all suspects, hey, these shoes look like they've been worn, or this box looks weird, where did these even come from? Then you're risking getting complaints on your account of like used sold as new, or complaints of counterfeit shoes because the box is suspicious looking or whatever. And so, yeah, I think that answers all of that. New shoes in the original manufacturer provided box, pristine condition.
Yeah, and the only shoes that we don't sell that are in the original manufacturer box are the kind of shoes that you usually see on a hanger at a store, like flip-flops or Crocs or something like that. Slippers, right.
Those don't come in a box, so you're not going to be able to sell them in a box. Those are polybagged without the hanger.
Yeah. So if the first question most people ask us is, what are the best brands to sell on Amazon? The second most popular question, which I've seen in multiple people have asked this, how many shoes do you have in your Amazon inventory? So how many shoes do we have in our Amazon inventory?
I honestly don't even know. I mean, I don't know. It's not so much about how many shoes you have in your inventory in order to, obviously you need to be continually buying and sending stuff into Amazon if you want to get good sales. The key though isn't like with any category, shoes or otherwise, it's not, oh, how many SKUs do I need to have, or how many whatever do I need to do? It's how quality is the inventory that I'm buying. And so if you want to ramp up to being able to have a good, solid, steady stream of sales, then you need to be finding shoes that have low competition and a good rank, and all the other, criteria that goes into making that shoe sale, depending on, the number of variations, the number of colors available for that pair of shoes, the types of reviews it's getting, all those different types of things. I know that's frustrating. That's not the answer. People want to know, like, I've got 1,000 shoes in inventory. I just made that number up. That is not how many shoes we have in inventory. I honestly don't know. I haven't looked it up to know for sure, but it's, obviously it's not something that concerns me to figure out like what that number is. I just know how much we're selling on a regular basis. And
right. And the bottom line is that when it comes to how many shoes are in our inventory, we can have the exact same profit numbers with 100 shoes and the exact same profit numbers with 500 shoes. And it's all about how fast they're selling, how fast we're turning things over. And so that kind of leads us into the next question. Charlene was asking about what rank guidelines do you have when it comes for shoes? This is also a little bit of a complicated answer.
Yeah, it is complicated, and I go into a lot more detail in the course, but kind of a summary is, it depends on the type of shoe, not the type of shoe necessarily, but like the shoe listing itself. For the shoe category, it's the clothing, shoes, and jewelry category, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. In the course, I have a breakdown of like a mini sales rank chart, where you've got like the overall number in that category with what's the top 1%, 5%, 3%, all of that. And the numbers are pretty high for, I want to say it was in the millions for 1%, like 1.5 million. I'm not completely sure that that's what it was for 1%, but I personally don't buy shoes that are ranked a million in that overall umbrella category of clothing, shoes, and jewelry. That to me is kind of high. Other sellers probably do sell shoes that are ranked a million. For me, I'm looking more, I would love to have shoes that are 4 and 5 digits, but anywhere around 100,000 is good for me. I've recently been branching up even higher to in 200,000. Just to kind of experiment and see, how is that working for me? And it is a trial and error process, and that might seem really low if you're looking at 1 million or higher is 1%, the top 1% of the category. That seems like that would be a really low rank then to, a very narrow criteria. But for me, I have found that that's if it gets higher than 300,000-400,000, there's reasons for that. Usually that it's out of season, or that it's a listing that has a lot of variations out of stock. So you can look at, say you've got a brown and a black variation of a pair of men's dress shoes, and you look at the sizes that are available, and there's only like a size 10, 12, and 13 that are available in the black, and then in the brown you've got maybe 5 or 6 variations. Well, usually a well-stocked listing would have, starting at size 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, all the way up to 13, 14. And so if you've got a lot of out of stock variations, people aren't going to be buying that shoe as often, and that's because the color and the size that they're looking for is not going to be there, and so it's going to drop in rank, and it's just going to kind of go lower from there, and you're really kind of just you're just waiting even longer for somebody to come along and buy that exact color size combination that you've got. So all of that's a really roundabout way of saying I try to stick to 200,000 or lower right now, but other sellers I know go higher than that. A lot of it too depends on how much capital you have available. If you don't have as much money that you're wanting to invest in shoes right now, then you would want to look for lower ranks. But if you've got more to work with, then you would expand to higher ranks. And that's another thing we go into in the course, is that because shoes can be, they aren't always, but they can be a longer tail item, you want to make sure that you've still got other categories that you're selling, like toys and kitchen and things like that, that have fast turns, that oh, if this is a 3 or 4 digit rank, it will sell like that when it gets to the warehouse, and that will keep your capital moving. You'll still have cash flow, and it will also help with your IPI, which is another concern.
Yeah, Natasha was asking, this is kind of along the same lines. Natasha was asking, when you send shoes in, how long does it typically take for the shoes to sell on average? And yeah, it kind of depends on what the average sales rank is that you're buying for your items. So if you're buying items that are ranked 100,000 on average, they'll sell a lot faster than items that are ranked 200,000. The higher sales rank that you go, the longer it's potentially going to take to sell. And also when it comes to shoe sizes, it impacts that. So this leads me to my next question: what kind of sizes do you have when it comes to your comfort zones? Because a few people have been asking about that.
Yeah, that's another good point. That there's more common sizes for men's and women's and for kids. I don't sell as many kids shoes, so I'm not as familiar with which sizes to get for those. For men's, you're going to want to look to find the more common sizes. I tend to buy like 9, 10, 11, 12 for men's, and I found that those and I also do the half sizes. Those tend to sell faster than if you get like 7s or 8s or anything bigger, like 13 and 14. It just depends. I do buy those sizes sometimes, but in general, if you get the more common sizes, those are going to sell faster. For women's, I like to do like 7, 8, 9 in the half sizes, and I found that those sell pretty quickly compared to if I buy a size 5. I don't buy 5 at all anymore, and 6s I will buy rarely, because I found that those for me just weren't selling as quickly. I know there are people that have smaller feet that are wanting those, and you can sell them at a premium sometimes. But that's just not the business model that I have right now. Some people do really well with that, and I just have chosen not to go that route right now.
Yeah. I've had a handful of people ask about ROI when it comes to shoes. I know when we first started selling shoes, we had a particular ROI goal, and as we've continued to improve, that ROI, the comfort level at lower ROIs has become more comfortable. What would you say is a typical ROI or kind of our ROI journey? That's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm not even sure right now I haven't looked in a while to see what our current average is. I know it's a lot lower than it used to be. When I first put this course out, we were getting consistently 100% ROI. And I think things have changed with selling shoes in general, but also for us, I know that we're buying a lot more. I'm spending a lot more money on shoes. And so in order to do that, you have to branch out. You're just not going to be able to find only 100% ROI shoes. And if you are only finding that and spending a lot of money on it, then that's great. But in order for me, I set a goal each week for how much money I want to spend on sourcing. And in order for me to meet that goal, I've had to expand my ROI parameter. And so I usually will, when I buy shoes, make sure that I've got 50% or higher for the ROI that I expect, knowing that if for whatever reason the price drops over time, that, or if we get returns, that the ROI is going to go down. But in order to keep our actual ROI higher, that's kind of the parameter I've put for myself lately. I don't know what the average actually is, though. I still find shoes where I can get 100 or more percent ROI, but
that's just not the only thing you're buying anymore.
It's not the only thing I'm buying
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. And so if you want to, when you start out, and if you just want to look for shoes with a 100% ROI, then great, you'll have 100% ROI and you'll have this profit level. But when you begin to get comfortable with lowering your ROI, you'll start seeing your profits going up, you know, and it just works together that way. Someone asked, let's see, if you're selling a variation that does not exist yet, should you make the new listing with a new UPC barcode? So if you're selling a variation that's not there yet, do you add that to Amazon?
So like there's already a parent ASIN, but let's say that there's like a color that you're wanting to add, or
yeah, there's like a red 5.5 that's not there anymore. It's not even a grayed out option.
So what you would need to do, you would need to have a UPC for it, and then
the actual UPC, not a random UPC, right?
Right. I've never sourced shoes that don't have a UPC. So I would, when I source shoes, they come with the box and the UPC, and then you would do a search. If you're not finding it on the listing that you've got already with the parent ASIN, you would do a search to make sure that it's not, search and add a product for that UPC and make sure it doesn't have like a separate product page that's messed up or whatever. And then if you can't find that UPC on Amazon, yeah, that's when you would add a new variation to the existing parent listing, and that's where you would use either the add a product on Seller Central, and you can just go through the steps under add a product, or you could do add a product using the variation wizard, and both of those we've got videos for how to do it. And
yeah, those are both video bonuses.
Video bonuses, yeah, for the course. But it's a process, and it takes some effort, it's like anything, it takes some trial and error, but it's totally doable, and we've got the step by step. And as with so many things that might seem confusing about selling on Amazon and things that that are new that come across like that, I have found that when you're trying to do something like that, opening a ticket and asking for help if you run into any problems is really easy. I add variations on a semi-regular basis. I don't do it all the time. In general, I like to only sell shoes that already have a listing, but there are times when, sometimes I'll accidentally order a pair of shoes and get it and be like, oh, this doesn't have a variation. I'm going to need to fix that. And so, I do come across that and do it, and it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff asks, have you found any brands that have filed IP claims for selling their shoes?
We have a list in our Facebook group of known problem brands as a file. I don't think we've ever had an IP claim. So I know there are some brands, not just of shoes, but of other, in other categories that are problems. But for us, that's never been an issue. So I wouldn't even, I'd have to go look at that file in the Facebook group to know what some shoe brands would be that you would be concerned about, but we haven't had that problem.
Someone asked, what price range would you buy to start with?
I'm gonna assume that means like buy price range. And I mean, it just really depends on how much capital you have available, and you would need to kind of break down what you're personally comfortable with. There is a higher risk involved when you're looking at buying shoes as far as the buy price goes, because it does tend to be higher than in other categories, and so it makes it riskier. You know, if you buy a pair of shoes for $50 expecting to sell them for $120, that's, you know, you're going to get a great ROI there and really high dollar amount for your sales, but you're also risking if something happens and I can't sell that pair of shoes for whatever reason, either they just don't sell or something happens along the way. I don't even know what, you know, you get restricted or, you know, something happens, whatever happens and you don't end up selling it, then that's $50 that you've got tied up that if you had bought, you know, $50 tied up in one item, whereas if you bought a 50-cent book, that is a lot lower risk for that one item. So it just really depends, but it is possible to find shoes to sell in the $15, $20, $30 buy price range. And so, you know, that's a better place to start when you're first learning how to sell in this category, because then you're kind of learning on items that don't carry as much risk per item. So that's what I would recommend. And I've heard somebody say in our group that they started out selling kids shoes for that reason, because you can find kids shoes for, you know, $10, $15, and you don't have to have as much capital to get started buying those shoes. So.
Good answer. I saw a few questions asking about tactical arbitrage. Is tactical arbitrage really necessary when it comes to selling shoes or buying shoes and selling them on Amazon?
Is it really necessary? I mean, no, it's not. You know, nothing's absolutely necessary other than an Amazon selling account, but there are things that make it easier. Honestly, for me, when I first got started, briefly talk through my progression. When I first got started selling shoes, I was using deal lists only. There was a deal list. The one that we first got started was your source inventory, which doesn't exist anymore, and that was a sad day whenever we found out they weren't going to exist anymore. I would get that one, and then also I still get Quincy Lynn's gated list, and it's a high quality list. And so you get, I think with Quincy's you get 10 leads per day, or I mean you can get different
packages. Different packages
where you get like one list a week, or we get the 5 days a week one. So
yeah, and that's called gated list, and it was created back when shoes were gated. But you know, if you search gated list on Google, you'll find his shoe listing service. Or if you go to fulltimefba.com/gated list.
I think that's a quick link that'll take you there. So, but when I first got started, that was all I was using. Now I wasn't getting those two lists with like, you know, 20 or 25 leads and then, oh, okay, I'm going to buy these 25 shoes. I would get them and analyze them every day. I would look at the websites, see, you know, which stores had sales going on. I would see what they were suggesting as a lead, and I would kind of use that as my jumping off point and then go from there. I think in the course I talk about how, you know, I didn't understand that at first, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to buy these shoes. That's what I need to do. They say these are good shoes. I'm going to buy these shoes. And I was doing that at first, and it was not very great results in the first couple of weeks of doing that. But then from there, I switched to, once I kind of got a feel for that and was like, okay, I'm ready to expand. I don't remember how long it was before I started using OA X-ray, and I started branching out then from just getting the deal list to using OA X-ray to scan sites, scan all of the shoes in certain retail stores' websites, and I would do that probably did that for like another year, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the timeline, but I think I probably spent about a year doing that. And then I got to the point. I don't even.
And if you're curious about OA X-ray, the link to find out about that, fulltimefba.com/OA X-ray.
Yeah. And I don't think tactical arbitrage really even existed before that. And so once tactical arbitrage came along and I started hearing people talking about that, I was like, okay, I think I'll look into that. And honestly, when I first started looking at that, I was like, this is super complicated. I don't know if I can do this. And it took me a while to kind of play around with it. They had a lot of videos. They have a YouTube channel, and I watched a lot of those videos and some webinars that they had posted, and it took a lot of trial and error to get to where I use it. And I tried using it with our VA, and we have a VA in the Philippines that helps us with some other stuff. And so I tried getting her to help me with it, and the two of us together worked on it for a while. And then I got to where I was like, actually, I think that I'm confusing the VA. I never really was able to figure out how best to get the best results with using a VA. And she was really great, but I think that my instructions to her were just not great. And so that was kind of the progression. I decided, really just honestly me doing it myself and just kind of fiddling around with it every day is the best results for us. And so that's what we've been doing now for, I think, I don't know how long now we've been doing that.
Yeah, a couple years.
Couple years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we'll say a couple years. And like I said earlier, there's sometimes still where either there's a problem with I'm not getting a great scan result from tactical arbitrage or OA X-ray. There's times when when the retail websites will change something within their code or the way they're set up, and then those programs, tactical arbitrage and OA X-ray, then have to go in and change their code in order to work with it again. And so there'll be times when you can't scan a site, and I'll still go in and just manually go through and pick out shoes that I think will be a good buy for whatever reason. And I'm still able to find shoes now that I know what I'm looking for, but it just takes a lot longer. And there's plenty of people who do OA, and I know there's people in our Facebook group who talk about they do OA in any number of categories, and they don't use any type of scanning software like that. It just really depends on where you are. There is a learning curve for it, and so I'm not saying, okay, you need to start with this new category that's complicated and get this complicated software at the same time. That might not be the best idea. I know for me that would not have worked at all because that would be too much to learn at once. Some people, that's not a big deal, but for me, it would have been. I think I would have quit if I had tried to learn tactical arbitrage while I was learning shoes. But if you already have tactical arbitrage and you're using it for another category and you know how to use it, that works out great. Or, once you kind of get the hang of it with shoes, then adding tactical arbitrage is a great way to kind of speed up or make your process more streamlined and efficient.
Yeah, tactical arbitrage saves us hours of time every day sourcing shoes, and but yeah, it could be a monster to learn. Bob, Abby, and a few others have asked one of the big questions. The sales rank for a shoe gives you the parent sales rank. It does not give you the individual sales ranks for all of the individual variations. So how do you know which variations are actually selling? And I know we go into a lot more detail in the course, but can you give us just an overall idea of how you know which variation is the one that's most likely to sell?
Yeah, so you're going to want to look at, like I was saying, there's common sizes that you're going to want to check out. And those sizes, for the men's shoes and for the women's shoes tend to be pretty typical. And then also for me, I personally, I look at the overall number of variations. So if there's a listing that has 3 different color options available, like a black, a dark brown, and a light brown, versus a listing that has 10 different colors or 15 different colors, because there's black and brown and gray striped and blue and dark blue and light blue and red and pink, and just any number of color options are available in this pair of shoes. Then what you're going to end up with is your overall sales rank is not going to as much reflect the likelihood of the shoe variation that you would want to send in, reflecting that sales rank is going to go down. So if you've only got 3 color variations, that overall sales rank is going to be more reflective of what's going on with those 3, as opposed to if you're spreading it out over a larger number of variations. And the same goes for sizes. If you've got, from 5 to 12 with all the half sizes, and you've got medium and narrow and wide width, then that's even more variations that the sales rank is going to be referring to. And so I look at, I try to choose shoes that have a lower number of variations available. And then from there, personally, I like to buy shoes that are neutral in color. So if there's 4 or 5 color options and one of them is neon green, I'm probably not going to sell that one. Some people really like to sell the crazy outlier colors because they feel like you can charge a premium for hot pink as opposed to black. But I have found that I would rather sell shoes that are neutral, that tend to sell more regularly. There's going to be more customers that are looking for a black pair of shoes than a neon green pair of shoes. And I feel like I'm more likely to sell those shoes quickly than to sell them at a premium. Again, that's just, difference in business model. You can look at the reviews of the shoes, and you can pull up the reviews, and with the verified purchase reviews on Amazon, it will tell you what color the person purchased when they're making their review. And so you can kind of scan through that and see what colors are getting the most reviews. Now, that's not super accurate because, it's just reflective of who actually left a review. But the assumption is that if a lot of people are leaving reviews for the black pair of shoes, then a lot of people are buying the black shoes. And if you've got fewer reviews for the purple ones, then fewer people are buying the purple ones. It's not completely, flawless logic, but it's a safe assumption. And then there's ways to make that, looking at the number of your reviews, even like breaking down those numbers, crunching those numbers even more, that you can look at different variation tools, either how many, or Keepa has a variations tab, and Tactical Arbitrage has a variations tool that they use where they show you which variations are getting Amazon reviews.
And that's also in our bonus section where we show you, walk you through on the video how to use those different variation tools to see which ones are getting the most traction that potentially also will lead to sales.
And this overall question is pretty much an entire chapter of the course, where I go into a lot more detail about how to make those decisions about which variations, when you can't look at the sales rank of that variation.
Yeah, so that's really good. We've eclipsed 90 minutes of hanging out with you tonight. I know that we still have more questions. The cool thing is that a lot of the questions that I've seen being asked, they're going to be answered on our blog over the next week or so. We've got more blog posts, YouTube videos, things coming your way, more information about selling shoes that we want to share with you. So be sure to subscribe to the blog, fulltimefba.com, and you'll get even more information, and you can learn more stuff. And then almost every answer, I'm sure, is in this course. Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes, fulltimefba.com/selling shoes. The price will be going up soon. Be sure to use the coupon code SHOES10 to save $10 off of the cost of this course, and 60-day money-back guarantee. Nothing to lose there. To try it out and to see what you think and see what you feel about it. But this course is geared to help you take your Amazon business to the next level. Shoes have revolutionized our Amazon business, and like we said, it's over half of our revenue comes from our shoe sales, and we're we're making that part-time, turn those part-time hours into a full-time income thanks to the shoe category. We want to help you too. So fulltimefba.com/selling shoes. I'm really glad that you hung out with us for 90 minutes or so talking about shoes. Y'all asked really good questions. Again, thanks for hanging out with us. We really enjoyed talking about shoes, and my voice is about to go. I'm sure yours is too.
Yeah.
But thanks again so much for hanging out with us. Again, we talked about our Facebook group, fulltimefba.com/Facebook to be able to get into the group. We talked about the file, what's it called again?
I think it's called Known Problem Brands, something to that effect.
Yeah, so if you go to fulltimefba.com/Facebook, ask for admission into the group. We'll ask you 3 questions that prove you're not a robot or a spammer, and then you can search for that in our group in the file section and be able to get that information and be a part of a group of almost 10,000 Amazon sellers who have that goal of turning part-time hours into a full-time income. Some people have already achieved it. Some people are on their way. We'd love for you to join us. Well, that's it for today. Thanks again so much for hanging out with us. So keep learning. And again, fulltimefba.com/selling shoes. Have a great day, everybody. God bless. Bye.